through one headphone. Oh, there it is. Okay.
All right. And on that note, welcome to the 7th episode of the Neon Valley. The impromptu 7th episode, by the way.
Can you believe we haven't been canceled yet?
The Neon Valley podcast. My name is Tyler Conlon. I also go by Skorge.
And my name is Mitchell. I go by Tsuku.
What up, boy?
What up, man?
No, yeah, the reason I said impromptu episode 7 is because I didn't realize that a silent voice review was going to become an entire episode. So that is now episode 5. Our last episode is episode 6, even though I called it episode 5. But yeah, so this is episode 7. Dude, we're already to double digits. I feel like we should try to do the 10th episode in person.
Yeah,
maybe we should try to make plans to do that.
Do we make it a thing where we record like little bits in between parts and then have that for like the YouTube and then maybe the Patreones?
What do you mean in between part? I'm saying a whole episode.
I'm saying we add
come over
skits
or I come
and
over.
we throw
We just
skits
record a whole episode for the 10th. Ooh!
Oh my god!
Oh, fuck it, hell yeah, dude! Let's do a whole episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah,
just us two.
Yeah,
by the way,
you guys are in for.
And my cat will be the host. I got a projector. I don't know if I told you that. Yeah,
I can tell your voice sounds. There's more body to it. You know, good for you.
Yeah, I pay him about $20 an hour. He tells me how to talk with more of my chest. No, dickweed. It's it's not bad. It's like a 1080p. It says it supports 4K, but I googled that after I bought it, and that just means that you can play 4K things through it. But that doesn't mean it'll display it in 4K.
That's the more you know.
Yeah, assholes. But no, it's really nice. It was only like $100 on Amazon. It was on sale for like half off. Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking, man, we could throw up like the Neon Valley logo behind us, have like 2 chairs in front of it. It might look like a real set.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. Yeah. This is you're welcome, America.
We'll make more details off camera. But
yeah, don't want to spoil too much stuff that we clearly have thought about for a long time.
Oh, of course, this is all we've been thinking about. All right. So, do you want to start with some questions, or do you want to start with our some daily life updates?
You know what? Let's start with the daily life updates first. You know, I think I like the idea of us catching up. So I'll say I started school again. So.
Finally back in high school, huh? Finally finishing that senior year?
No, I'm actually about 8 classes away from completing my bachelor's degree. So, yeah, that's going to be a thing.
Congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny doing the discussions now because I notice that when I do them in like my work language. And I realize a lot of like my postings are sounding like memos you would get at work.
Oh, dude, there's nothing funnier to me than when you would get off of work when we lived together and you would still be in work mode and you would come in and I'd be like, hey man, you want a drink? And you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Grab that for me. And then we'll circle back to the living room and we'll maybe we can watch some YouTube or something. I'm not sure, but hey, let me know. I'd be like, dude, what? And he'd be like, oh, sorry. Yeah, grab me a Sprite.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would do the same thing because Amanda was the one that pointed it out because I was serving at the time and I would come home and I'd be like, you guys need anything? You want me to grab you anything? You need anything else?
Oh my God, yeah, you would. It was so funny. And you would do like the finger point thing. Like
I was doing it while I was just saying it right now. I swear to God, I was doing the exact thing. You guys need anything else? You're doing the little circle motion with your fingers.
You take out a pen and pad and you start writing it down. You're like, just kidding. I got to memorize. I'm just doing hangman with myself.
I actually just drew a picture of you guys. Look at this doodle. But I got it all up here. Don't worry. And then I do get one thing wrong though. No, that's awesome. This must be the season of people going back to school though. Audrey's brother's gone back to school, and quick actually funny side story about that. Not so funny for him, but for the outside perspective, it's hilarious. I guess one of the administrators he was talking to or something, I don't know the exact story, but he had to drop one of his classes. And instead of doing that, she dropped all 6 of his classes.
Oh,
So when he went to sign on to figure out when his periods were and everything this year and everything, like, he didn't see anything. It said he had nothing.
God.
And like, oh man, he
I
went
would
into
have a
full
heart
panic
attack.
attack. Yeah, oh, he freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty bad. But
Yeah, understandably so for that situation.
yeah, nothing he did wrong though. So he got it all figured out. They were able to get it, squared away.
That's wild.
Oh my god. Nothing too much in the works for me. This was my week off. So honestly, I didn't really do much. It was just a nice relaxing vacation. Yeah, not much to report back. Like I said, I got a projector. That's about the most.
Amanda and I just got back from Disneyland.
I was wondering. I forgot if you guys were going this weekend or not. How was that?
Okay, so get this. It was raining for a majority of the time, and I mean where it's consistently, and it's raining. It's not like, oh, there's a little drizzle. You can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it's raining. There's not a single
this is New
patch
York
on the water
rain.
that isn't. Yeah, it's Seattle rain. They don't talk like that. It's Seattle.
But you know what? They would if it rained like that.
If it rained. Okay, so what was nice was we couldn't do too many things, which wasn't a bad thing. It's obviously because she's pregnant. There's certain rides that she can't go on. Of
course.
So we stuck to, honestly, some of our favorites. Pirates. Pirates was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We got to do the Haunted Mansion, and it was still Jack's Takeover as well. So that was super cool. That was the first ride we did.
Nice.
And she didn't know it was going to be. So I knew. So that's why I was like, no, let's make that the first ride, and then not have to worry about trying to wait in long lines. And then I also surprised her. We did the build your own lightsabers.
Hell yeah. Dope. Yeah, I still haven't been able to make one of those. I feel like now I could go back with enough money to feel comfortable doing that, but even then I'd be like, ooh, these are pricey.
I'll say the experience is worth it. It's definitely something that you want to hang up, and I definitely spend the first hour back at the hotel room waving my lightsaber around like a mad person in the room.
I thought you were going to say, because for me, it'd be spend the first hour just picking the Kyber crystal. I'd be like, I don't know. What crystal do I choose? I don't know what I want.
There's multiple processes where you have to choose and then build your own with custom sets that you'll pick one thing and then you get a set of options for that option that you picked, and then you pick between those options to build it.
It's like Build-A-Bear, but for adult children.
Yeah, and it's funny because you'll see families going together, right?
Yeah.
You'll see kids, because you only get one guest. So it's kind of nice because, again, they make it an experience. Yeah. But you'll see kids and parents, and it's all the parents that are making those lightsabers.
Yeah,
those
right.
Kids are they're heavy. It's metal. It's the metal kind. It's super nice.
That's beyond their realm. Go to Sharper Image. That's the highest level they're going to buy.
Yeah, this episode brought to you by the Sharper Image.
Oh my god.
Does that even we're name dropping all the greats. Amazon, Disney. We're gonna have everyone's gonna love us.
Yeah, they're gonna be rolling in, dude. Rolling in.
We're not even
truckloads.
Paid by that. That's what makes me mad. We're talking about experiences where we're giving these companies money, and they're getting free advertisement, and I don't know what to think.
I don't like it. Oh, by the way, underrated gem of Disneyland, in my opinion. It might not even be there anymore, but the Pinocchio ride slaps. It's a good ride.
We were just talking about. Oh no, we were talking about the Peter Pan one, because that's the one where you're in that room and it's like you're flying, and that's pretty fun.
That was pretty cool too. Yeah, there's just that moment in the one where you go into the whale's mouth, and every time it scared the shit out of me. Still does to this day. I'm a 29-year-old man. Dude,
have you done the submarine one at Disneyland? I did that for the first time at the age of 29 years old.
No. I don't know if you remember. We were going to, and we were waiting in line for it, and then someone came up to us and was like, "Hey, we have fast passes to the Cars ride."
That's right, and we're like, "Fuck this! Those go way faster."
So yeah, we were like, "Fuck that!" and we just ran there. And we were the last ride to go on. I think they were closing in 10 minutes or something like that.
Man, that was a great time.
Yeah, I actually found out. It's funny you bring that up because wait, what is this word? Hold on. hold on. Necromechaphobia. No, there's a word. Okay, hold on. I gotta Google it real quick. There's a word that's like the fear of man-made items underwater, and I know that sounds so specific. But
I
it's
really
like,
want to put you on this right now.
so like, for example, like imagine those mechanical items that you see under the water for the submarine ride. Like those freak me out a little bit. Okay, no, that's not it. Submechanophobia.
That sounds like an anime, like, oh yeah, well, I have submechanophobia. You'll never be able to defeat my water-based netherworld powers.
Or like a a hardcore death metal band, Submechanophobia. Oh man, did you hear the new Submechanophobia album? Man, that shit was heavy.
Heavy stuff.
Let me see if I can find a picture real quick and send it to you in the chat for an example.
Yeah, you would love this. Although I'll say a lot of it is, and they do a really good job of, they have a scene set up, but they're generating images with probably projectors of some sort. For different things you pass through, but there are other things that are just straight up mechanisms, as scientists might say.
Mechanisms. Okay, so this isn't a mechanism, but this is like the idea of the vibe. Wait, is that even going to come up? Okay, click. It's safe to click. Wait, maybe don't click on that.
Maybe don't do a.
You know what? Don't click on that. I'm gonna upload a different picture. I think it's just a download to a photo. It's fine, but I'm not going to make you do that. So like this idea, like they have this mechanical shark. I'm doing it in the Discord, by the way. Like underwater. Yep. Like that vibe freaks me the fuck out. Like that is a legit fear. But I also have a fear of being underwater. Like it's like, I don't know why.
And sharks.
Yeah, but you know what? I've realized it's less of sharks and more of being helpless around sharks, you know, like they are the penultimate in that setting, you know. So it's like, oh yeah, no, you're done. So that's my fear, is like,
you feel the same way about them as bears.
A little bit, yeah. Like, oh yeah, well, okay, maybe not. No, because I can run from a bear. That's what I'm saying. Is like swimming is not the same. Even though a bear is faster than me, and I understand. Shut up. Listen, I get that, but I'm not saying I can outrun a bear. But I'm saying I can run from a bear and feel like I'm doing something. Swimming, I don't feel like I'm doing anything compared to something that's bred to swim.
That's fair, especially like if you start scrambling and you're just staying in split place. You're not even moving to a spot. Like you try to dive out of the way when he's racing towards you. You're like, I can come up with a plan.
Dude, no, my legs are already like.
You're like, I have like
shivering.
12 seconds. I mean, at the same time, you're like, well, if I'm because if you're also in the situation, right? Because there's not a lot of situations where you end up face to face with the shark, but if you are, I don't know why I always imagine you're far beneath the. I just realized I always imagine it's like, well, it's probably better to go out from being attacked by a shark than drowning.
It's a terrible assumption.
But like that also assumes that you're in a situation where you're already gonna, like, if somebody had concrete shoes on your feet and dropped you into the ocean, and as you're going down, a shark came up,
I'd rather drown.
What's the worst way to go?
I would rather drown. What the fuck do you mean? What? At least when I drown, I'm just going to pass out from suffocation and then die in my sleep. Otherwise, what? I'm eaten alive? Are you out of your mind?
I mean, you won't be alive for long.
For long enough. Long enough.
You're telling me that DMT rush is... No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? Let's get some answer. Let's get some people in the comments. What would you rather be eaten alive by a shark or just drown? Is basically
or just
the question.
Straight up drown.
Or just drown. And you know what? I might be surprised by the answers. And speaking of questions, look at that segue. Did you like that segue, Mitchell?
I love that segue. And I got to ask you an honest question.
Paul Blart would ride that segue. Yes. What is it?
I'm here for Paul Blart. Can I do a quick pause to let Beast out because he's starting to growl at the door?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Be right back. 1 moment.
All right, now that he's gone, and it's just me and you, we can finally talk turkey. I saw the way you were looking at me. Gotta say, while I am flattered, I'm also taken. Taken by my one true love. The blade. I've been honing my skills every night. And if I let myself falter to another, well then, the blade will never love me back. And that's not a chance I'm willing to take with the blade. All right.
Also, you need to start playing Pokemon again. Because I got back into it. Bro, I did a surprise trade. I got a shiny level 100 Slowbro.
What? That's dope.
I also got a Charmander. So I'm working on breeding perfect Charmanders, and I'll have an extra one for you. So that way you can have a Charizard.
Yeah, man, I gotta play it just so I don't feel like I wasted $60. I mean, I did play it a good amount when it came out, but I felt like one of those situations where I could have waited to buy it if I wasn't going to play it that much. Yeah, I need to jump back on it.
And I'll say this. I had kind of like pushed myself to finish through the storyline because of getting access to 6-star Terra raids where you get stronger Pokemon options. And once you complete the Pokedex is when you get the shiny charms so you can catch more shiny Pokemon.
Shiny.
Bro, the story blew me away, though. I was like, holy shit, this is one of the best storylines they've done ever.
Wow, that's pretty rare for a
right. Like,
Pokemon
when's the
game.
last time I was like, don't get me wrong, I love Pokemon, but when was the last time I was like, bro, the storyline of this Pokemon game really was a tearjerker. Like,
you don't play Pokemon for the story, that's for sure.
But man,
wow.
this one is worth it. I'll say it. This one is worth it.
Oh, you piqued my interest again. I'll have to check it back out. All right. See, with the whole story thing, you've done that thing where you made me want to restart it. I'm not going to do that, but like I always because I want to be more invested. Like because since I'm going back into the game, I'm like I want to know either. Okay. So.
I'll say I don't think you would have missed anything. It does a good job of giving you more as it progresses. So I don't think you've missed anything.
That's fair, and I'll probably remember whatever it is that I played once I get into it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we have a couple of listener questions here. If you would like to leave a question for us in a future episode, be sure to leave them in the Skorge Discord, which will be linked in the description of either the Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube, whatever you're listening to, or at the Neon Valley subreddit at r/Neon Valley Pod. That's r/Neon Valley Pod. Just like the question here from Gerbils. He said, a canceled show that doesn't deserve it. So, I don't know. Did you see this question prior? Because I had a little time to think about it. So, I'll admit, I have the upper hand.
You go first, because I think I skimmed across this one.
I feel like maybe with anime, you might have a couple more than I would have.
Yeah, that's exactly what and okay, I guess by canceled, am I considering things that they at least canceled making any more episodes for of the time being, where they said, we had this many seasons or just this season, and we're at least not going to make any more.
So no. So from what I gather from this question is he's asking what show was cut short. So did not have an ending. So even if the show
didn't get to finish.
Yeah, so was either low ratings caused it to cut, the studio lost money, or was disbanded or something like that. You know what I mean? I kind of least I think that's what he means, because otherwise it's just every show that ended,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay, I think I have one.
Okay, because I have a couple. One of them I think you'll know about too, but I do have one that me and Audrey were obsessed with when it first came out on HBO Max, which they've been notorious for canceling shit lately.
HBO Max. How could you?
I know. But it was a show called Lovecraft Country. It was just a really interesting show set in, I should just Google this real quick because I don't want to get it wrong. It's one of those things where I watched it like 2 years ago. So it's set in the 1950s during like Jim Crow era America, and it's about a guy whose father wrote the guide for the Black American to travel America, and it's like the idea that it's this guidebook that like Black Americans would buy to tell them what cities to avoid, what towns to avoid, so that they would be safe, essentially, But throughout the whole tale, there's like mystery that starts to pop up, and then like magic, and then there's witches, and then there's like this whole backstory of like Lovecraft creatures that are like actually real, and like and it's really good, and it intertwines like Black history and culture with like the Lovecraft stories, because what's crazy about Lovecraft that a lot of people know now, and it's why people have a little bit of issue with his writing, is that he was very racist.
That would make sense.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems with dark-skinned people in his writings. So this show almost takes his writing and then flips it on its head and makes it about Black people, and it's really good. It was a really good show. It was supposed to continue, but they canceled it. It's bullshit. But anyway, did you have one? I thought maybe we can go back and forth if you thought of one.
Yeah. So the first one that I thought about, and I was also trying to look up to see if what had canceled it, if it was low ratings or not, because I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed watching it. And after 2 seasons and 19 episodes, American Inventor went off the air. And for those unfamiliar,
that sounds familiar.
2007, between March 2006 and August of 2007, American Inventor was a reality show such as the likes of American Idol, others like American Idol. And on the show, it was people who were like, hey, I invented this. So think of Stu Pickles for all the millennials out there. Just people who built random things.
Dude,
I remember one.
Yes, I remember this. I'm sorry.
Right.
It was Shark Tank before Shark Tank. Basically.
Yeah, because instead of saying we want you to get in on this business, it was we're pitching to people, hey, we're inventors, we're not business people.
Yes.
And some people did, I think, do sales and stuff like that. But one kid was, I think, like 16 or 17 years old, and he had tried to build some fan for the car window, so that way you can have your dog in the car and still blowing out air. And I remember in the end of they were trying to be nice. He ended up crying at the end. He's so funny. He's like, "Don't worry, that episode you did on American Inventor, that'll never come back to haunt you. That was in 2007. So much stuff has happened since then." In 2023, he goes to check out the Neon Valley podcast.
He's the one listener in Belgium.
He's the one in Belgium. He moved to Belgium and changed his identity
to get away
and now
from
he's getting roasted.
Oh my fucking god!
Sorry.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Speaking of that time period, I do have 2 shows that I can rapid fire real quick from that era. Okay.
Okay.
One is a sitcom called The Loop, which was about a guy who worked at an airline company, and it was just like a slice of life sitcom show. It was just him working at the company, and he had a girlfriend, a girl he liked, and a best friend who was a stoner and goofy. And it was just the actors in it were very likable. But yeah, it was called The Loop. It was really fucking funny. It should have been on longer. Anyway, there was another show called Happy Endings. And genuinely, when I say that this show was one of the funniest shows that I have ever watched in my life, It was one of the funniest shows I've ever watched in my life. And I think it lasted like 8 seasons, and I still think it got canceled too soon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that if the series is doing well enough and they're creating enough of a plot line and a story behind it, I think you can say at any point that it was canceled too soon.
Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little confused. There's no way, because it says it went from 2011 to 2020, but it did not go for 9 years. Hold on, I know I just said 9 seasons, but I think I could just gaslit myself. Hold on, this show did not go for 9 seasons.
Had 482 seasons, short only to Naruto.
What? No, wait. What? Yeah, there were 3 seasons. Okay. All right. Joseph, go back and edit me saying in this. And I know that there were 3 seasons, but it still shouldn't have been canceled. Thank you, Joseph. Just edit that back in. That it should sound smooth. Anyway, did you think of any other shows?
Yes, I have, and I'm going to put them up as a pair.
Okay.
And I think you'll know why. Flapjack and Chowder.
Wow, were they technically canceled?
Yeah, so I just pulled this up. Apparently, so Chowder was a rather strange cartoon, and this is me quoting thegamer.com, quoting our sources. This is Nat. The show did not fit with the older boys demographic, which is interesting.
Really?
So it turns out older boys were into the live action shows Destroy, Build, Destroy instead. I was not. But we've talked about this before as well in our personal lives. I was way more of an animation person than I was a live action lad.
Yeah. You know what? I'll admit, I would love to say that
it's your fault.
I don't fall into that category, but it is my fault. Yeah, because I went on to the live action stuff. Like, I was the kid who was like, when I turned 13, 14, I was like, oh, cartoons. Nobody watches cartoons anymore.
But I also wonder,
except for SpongeBob,
if because I had, like, I was the oldest.
So yeah, you had younger sisters.
My youngest sibling was 8 years younger, and if maybe that had to do with like, she still watched cartoons, so at least cartoons that had the jokes that teenagers could pick up on. I liked those ones.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense because I bet. If I had lived with my older brothers even longer before moving to Vegas, I probably would have moved out of cartoons even sooner because, like, they were into wrestling when I was only 4. So I was already thinking, like, oh, I should be into wrestling, and, like, and it's like, I don't fucking know what the fuck, like, maybe that's a little young. Maybe I was, like, 5 or 6. But either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the fact that you had younger siblings probably made it easier to kind of hold on to those type of shows. For me, it was like, I want to grow up quicker,
Yep.
That's interesting. I have, oh wait, you had 2? Oh no, they were, they were 7.
Yeah, that was a pair because they came out at the same time.
Yeah, those are good ones. Okay. Drake and Josh should never have been canceled. It should still be going on now, but that's a different story. I have one more that I think you'll agree with. You ready? You ready for this bombshell?
Okay.
Netflix's classic, 2016, I believe, Disjointed.
I forgot that was canceled.
Yeah, brother. I think it only got 2 seasons.
So good.
It was like the modern That 70s Show. Like, I will fight tooth and nail. Like, yes, it's not like Oscar worthy. It's not the best show ever made, but god damn it, we laughed hard.
Yeah, and it got serious at parts, and even the things where you're like, this is so over the top ridiculous, this isn't even funny, at points became funny. Like, it did a great job of, you might not like this right now, but that's okay because it might be something that somebody else likes. Yeah. But they do a well job of rounding it out.
Yeah, and it ends up working towards the plot because there was literally like there was a couple episodes where one of the characters is talking to one of the weed plants, like it's having a conversation with him, And like for an episode or two, you're just like, this is really dumb. Like, yeah, there's a few good jokes in it, but then it actually pays off where like the plant is like controlling, like it's so fucking dumb, but it's like, it actually pays off in a way where you're like, oh, wow, that was actually going somewhere. It wasn't just like a dumb stoner joke of like, oh, the plant's talking to him. Like,
yeah.
yeah, well deserved. I'm sure there's more. Like, I know there's a lot of shows that people really like. Like, I would feel dismayed to not bring up shows like Firefly and stuff like that. Because, like, I personally, I've never watched it all the way through. I've only seen a few episodes. But that was a show that only had one season, I think. But literally, it has like a 9 out of 10 on IMDb. Everyone fucking loves it. But it got canceled because of certain, like, ownerships leaving certain hands and they couldn't make it anymore. You know, that type of thing. So... yeah, I guess I'd feel remiss to not bring up stuff like that, but I never watched them, so I don't know. Those are just our personal ones.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know, you want to get into the movie? We're doing pretty good on time. I feel like we got a lot of time to talk about the movie today.
Yeah, perfect. And I think it was there's a lot to talk about in the movie. So
yes.
Let's dive on in. Joseph, do the transition.
Absolutely. By the way, Joseph has not done a single thing we've asked him to. I don't know if you've noticed.
I noticed that. Is he on payroll?
Not yet, but he's definitely not going to be now. So
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, The Menu is a 2022 film starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Ralph Fiennes. And I had to Google that, by the way, because I know for a fact it's spelled Ralph, but I believe he pronounces it Rafe. Or Rife. No, Rafe. Yeah. Like Ray F. Fiennes. That's the guy who plays the chef.
A ray of sunshine.
Yeah, because it was one of those moments where I know the actor, and when I was Googling the name to be like, shit, what is it again? It came up as Ralph Fiennes, and I was like, that's not his fucking name. And then I Googled the pronunciation, and it was like Ray Fiennes. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's the name I remember.
Ray Macchio.
But so you suggested this last week.
I did.
Which I gotta say, I don't know if you did it on purpose. Maybe you did. I don't know. But this was a perfect accompaniment.
Accoutrement.
Excuse me. You know what? There you go. No, this was the perfect accompaniment to the Glass Onion last week that we watched.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional, but I think looking back now, it makes a very I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, it's very similar in tone, which I'm not gonna lie was one of the first things that drew me away from this movie because I had seen trailers for it before you suggested it, and I was kind of interested, but I was getting sick of this whole like let's break down class and. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot of movies these days that are like, let's isolate people in a thing and really break down their class division. And it's like, yeah, I get it. You know, at a certain point. Like, what was that movie that came out a few years ago? Platform. Do you remember that one?
Oh, God, I love Platform.
Yeah, and it was still at a time where it felt original to really comment. I mean, we've always been commenting on class. I mean, it's literally one of the only things written about throughout all of history. But especially recently in Hollywood, there's been a real like the Squid Game style commentary on class, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so this movie, when I first saw the trailer, I was a little thrown off by it because of that. But I thought it was just going to be a cannibal movie.
Okay, cool. I totally was, and I know they entirely set it up to make you feel that way. Because I thought for sure too, it's gonna be some kind of weird cannibal movie, right? Yeah. Where they're gonna be forced to eat people. Like, thought 1,000,000,000%, put money on it.
I was
Have a great day.
ready to hate this movie because that was going to be the twist. Because I was like, man, I'm so sick of this shit. I get it. We eat people. People
also,
eat.
spoilers.
Well, we don't eat people. I don't eat
it's
people.
It's not about cannibals.
Yeah, exactly. I guess spoilers.
We get it. We eat people.
We eat people. All right, I get it. But they didn't do that at all. And they even hinted at it in the first. They still try to trick you a little bit because I don't know if you noticed, and I'm not trying to skip ahead or anything, but just for this context, there's a moments where they're drinking the wine, and when they keep describing the wine, they describe it as personal emotions. And I was like, oh, that's the blood of people, for sure. Like, for sure, 100%. Because he was like, oh, this one tastes like longing and regret. And I was like, ha ha ha.
No, I didn't pick up on that.
Oh yeah, and then the second wine tasted like, missing someone. I forget. It was they kept saying very specific like emotions that the wine would taste like. So I was like, oh ha ha ha. Fucking cannibals, I get it. You're eating people. This is so fucking stupid. Like, I was so ready to hate this movie in the first like 15, 20 minutes. Because I have some notes. Like, I was taking notes while watching it, right? And even though I wanted to hate it going into it, I was still wanted to be fair. I was like, all right, it can still be a good movie. You never know. This is how movies work.
You got to give it a chance.
You got to be open-minded. But I had that gut feeling is all I'm saying. I don't want to say I went into it wanting to hate it. I guess that's not the right way to say it. But either way, when it started and the couple is kind of talking off of the boat and, he's describing what they're going to be doing this weekend and all this stuff, all I kept thinking was like, why are these people talking like they don't know each other? Like they're supposed to be a couple, I think. Like, but they act like they don't even know each other.
Yeah, I definitely got you just picked her up vibes. Like you're kind of winging this as you're going.
Yeah. Yes, but it was still written in a way where it's like, oh, but they're bantering. So like, do they know each other? Like, is it?
Yeah, because it felt like there was still some type of familiarity. Like, oh, maybe they were just friends, but one has a different kind of vibe. Like
exactly.
Mm.
Like when you're dating someone, you have different interests. Like even though you try to date people who your interests line up, there might be the one or if I say one, there may be the many things that don't line up in your relationship. So I thought, oh, hey, maybe being a foodie is just his thing and it's not her thing. They're only like a year in or a couple months in, or you know what I mean? Like it's.
And she didn't realize how deep it really was for him.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I don't know. You know what? Spoilers. This is a hard movie not to just talk about spoilers. So, if people really care about spoilers and just want to hear my thoughts right out of the gate, it's a really good movie. It's a really great movie. It surprised me. I'm not going to give my rating yet. That's a tease. I'm going to wait till the end.
Yep.
Because you never know. Who knows? I say it's a great movie. I might give it a 4 out of 10. You don't fucking know. I might have my reasons.
You could pull a link.
Yeah. That was a good reference. But yeah, you don't fucking know. But yeah, so it was a good movie. You guys should say. What do you say, Mitchell?
Fucking hated it. No,
awkward.
I loved it because I kept not knowing what to expect in the movie, and I haven't had that in a while. Especially, at one point, I thought it was gonna be more of a Saw. I thought it was to be a Hunger Game, Squid Game. I thought it was gonna be a horror heavy, and instead it was this. I don't want to say drama. It was like a thriller.
Oh, psychological thriller for sure.
Yeah, but it kept making you wonder if there's another element to it that they just haven't shown you yet.
And maybe, I don't know if you saw, this movie was so funny too. Like, I didn't realize how much of a comedy.
It was super clever.
Yeah, like the dark comedy. Like, this felt like one of those movies you would see in theaters and half of the theater's laughing and the other half of the theater doesn't really understand why the other half is laughing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It felt like one of those movies. Because there's a great line where the chef is talking to the crowd and, John Leguizamo's character is like, what about her? She doesn't have to die. And I'm being very non-specific, for quote unquote spoilers yet. But he's like, she doesn't have to die. And the chef goes, where did you go to school? And she's crying. She's like, Brown University. He's like, do you have any student loans? No. And he's like, I'm sorry, honey, you're going to die tonight.
Oh, dude, I was dying because I was like, yeah, I'd be fine.
Like, that shit is so good.
Like, he's like, do you have person?
No. But so, okay,
you died tonight.
All right, let's circle back kind of to the beginning. The reason I wanted to say spoilers out of the gate is because the reason they don't talk to each other like they know each other is because they don't. She's a prostitute. So it literally makes sense from the beginning. She was hired to come to this dinner. Again, spoilers. We're spoiling shit out the gate.
What's interesting is that's similar to like the Glass Onion, where it starts off awkward and you're wondering why would they be acting like this, and then once you get to the end, it explains it and you see it and you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why that was that interaction. It makes sense now.
They make it really hard to review them and talk about them in this context, in this setting. Because
back to back, I realized
the movie.
Because you're like, so I need to critique this part, but I need to put an asterisk on that critique because while the critique isn't wrong per se, the movie is still correct because of how it's using that moment.
Exactly. Like a silent voice didn't do that, obviously, but yeah, like Glass Onion and this last movie, they are. They really suffer from that. Well, suffer is the wrong word because it's good. I do enjoy it, but at first when you're watching it, yeah, your first knee-jerk reaction is like, why am I uncomfortable while these people are talking? Like, am I supposed to feel this way? Like, you don't know.
Yeah, it's super clever.
Yeah, I did note though that I like how they introduced all the characters. It was really good. Like a lot of the movies, I think we've gotten that down pat, how to introduce characters, but some movies still suck at it. So this was good, even down to the little details where like Margot's character, whose spoilers name isn't really Margot, and I can't remember her real name, but whatever. Steve. But there's clearly a tension between her and the rich old couple. Yep. Like she looks at them and she's like, oh fuck, and looks away. And they never explain that for another like half an hour, but you notice it and you're like, okay, so there's something.
Well, I think what is at least at first being said is the wife is saying to the husband, doesn't she look like our daughter? And she keeps making that reference to him and he keeps getting uncomfortable saying like, no, what are you talking about?
But I think, maybe she does say it at the beginning. I thought she doesn't say that until like a good 20 minutes into the movie when they're like in the actual restaurant. But maybe she does say something like, oh, so, why is that girl looking at us? Maybe she says something like that at the beginning.
Yeah, like maybe, but yeah, she doesn't. It's when they're first sitting down in the restaurant, I think is when she says that she reminds her of the daughter.
Yeah, no, but there's a moment when they're getting on the boat, like at the very, very beginning where Margot looks at the older couple and she quickly looks away and averts her eyes as if like, oh shit, I hope they don't see me. So I was like, oh, so there's clearly a past with them, but they don't say anything about it. So I like these setups. They set it up very nicely. And also fuck you for picking a movie with a guy named Tyler as the second they said his name, I was like, oh, fuck. I realized it like halfway through and I was like, yes. Did you rewatch it for this, by the way? I'm curious.
I didn't, but when I watched it, I knew I was going to make you watch it, so I was definitely paying some extra attention. That's fair. Yeah, no, when she said his name, I kind of like cringed a little bit. I was like, God fucking damn it. I hate it when movies do this. Even though it happens with everyone, I get it. I was just like, God damn it. Especially because they made his character so obsessive about a specific thing, and I was like, man, that's exactly why. But at the same time, he's super knowledgeable, although there's a point when, unlike you, oh my god, dude, no. That was the greatest. I was so, you know what, I don't want to say that. We'll get to that. We'll get to it. So okay, so they get into the restaurant. There's already kind of a weird vibe, right? Like
It's very eyes
Uncomfortable.
wide shut, uncomfortable. Yeah, like there's hoity-toity, like rich, but the kind of rich where you're just like, is everyone gonna like start fucking any second or something? Like it's very
Is
ominous.
everybody in on something and they're just bullshitting each other? Because I don't get it.
Yeah. So, I guess for people listening, we're not making this very clear. I'm sorry. So the movie is basically about people who are brought to an island to have a private tasting from a professional chef. And it's like super expensive. I think he says at the beginning, like it's like $1,200, $1,300 a person. Which again, kind of hints at the fact that like, why would she not even know even close to how much because he says like, yeah, it's $1,250 a head or something like that. And she goes, oh, what? Well, it's on your dime. And like, yeah, that's a thing maybe a couple would say if they're early into dating. But you're telling me he just dropped $2,000 on this and she didn't know?
Bro, he was ready to accept what it was going to end up being. I don't think money was going to be an issue for him.
True. Okay, well, but I'm saying with the context of what we know going into the movie... At the beginning, you're just like, wait, you didn't know he just dropped $1,250. But then they do kind of hint at the before they even go into the restaurant.
Yeah,
it's not her name. And then he even doesn't know her name. Like and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Because the girl at the front desk goes like, so who are you with? And he goes, oh, this is Mrs.
That's right. And I was like, dude,
yeah, and then she goes, Margot. Awful. My name is Margot. Yeah, and I was like, so is he just a terrible person? Is he just nervous? Like, what's happening? Like, what the fuck is going on? Again, but it was clever the way because you're asking these questions, but they actually have answers. It's not just bad writing.
Yes. Beautiful.
So I wrote down Tyler seems passionate but crazy. This might have just been about myself. I don't know.
I forgot who.
Yeah, this might have been my diary entry shit. Okay, my bad. So the first course is the fish, the scallop, I believe.
Yes, I think it was scallops.
That's set up on like the rock. And at first I thought the rock was what they were eating until it zoomed in and I was like, wait, that's just a giant rock. That's a scallop is sitting on top of.
I was also confused when he said, do not eat the food. Because if I was sitting there, I would have raised my hand and said, sir, like, is this a metaphor or like
are you
physically do not ingest because I really need, like, I'll taste it, but I really need, I'm going to eat it.
He contradicts himself like a million times going on forward because then he'll just be like, enjoy, eat the food. Like he'll just keep saying eat over and over again, even though at the beginning he was like, I want to make this clear. Do not eat the food. And it's like, oh, it's that. But again, it's that pompous kind of like it's showing without having any real depth, like you're just, but you're also just trying to do it for people who don't really even care at the end of the day, which is kind of the main message of this movie is like the service industry. That's why it resonated so much with me, by the way, was the overall arcing message of like pain in the service industry.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I know that that's not the main, maybe that's not the main message, but that's clearly where all of this tension and where the horror and where the chef's kind of plan comes from is the underappreciation of people in the service industry and how years and years of trying to please people ends up sucking the soul from you.
Yeah. They definitely encapsulated a lot of that.
Yeah, it was really good. So I didn't really write anything much about the first dish. I really liked how Tyler is just like, just obsessed with everything that's happening. He doesn't even fucking care. Like, and he keeps taking pictures when they told him not to, which immediately I was like, stop it. Why are you doing that, Tyler? You shouldn't do that.
They specifically said to not do that thing that you are currently doing.
Yeah, which again... All right, so now let's nitpick because now I'm thinking about it. Why, if he's, okay, so he's so obsessed with this chef, right? And he knows that there's this rule not to take pictures, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He also knows he's going to fucking die. Why take the pictures? Why risk this? Do Do you know what I mean? Like if
I was going to bring that up, but I didn't know if we were going to get to that point yet. But yeah, I was just thinking about how why are you taking pictures if you don't? But my only guess is, have you seen fans of the Jonas Brothers? I firmly believe that they will do everything in their power to follow anything that they said, but that there is a gauge. And when that gauge tilts a little bit more into the I'm in awe of the moment, I think they are so excited they forgot about following the instruction because they get caught up in the moment. That is my hot take.
You know what? That's fair. And in part of me also felt that they were I don't want to say how do I put this? Part of me also felt that they were trying to say something towards the fact that Tyler didn't believe that they were going to die. Or, like, maybe he did, but that didn't matter, and he was so ignorant to it that it never really fully sunk in. Do you know what I mean? Where taking the pictures and like, he's still thinking about his future life and the possibilities of, like, working for this chef and, like, all these, like, oh, he wants to meet. But almost the idea of death was just like, oh, yeah, that's just part of the ticket. You know, like, imagine if you got, like you were saying with the Jonas Brothers, like, imagine if or a Taylor Swift fan, if they got a VIP pass that was like, oh, get a meet and greet, and you can talk with them, go see a movie with them, go do this, but then at the end you die. You know, like, there would still be fans who are like, well, I bet that's just a joke, you know, or I bet that's just, like, they can't be serious. You know, like, I don't know.
Only because of how it plays out for him. I think that he was firmly prepared the whole time. Like, that's the only reason.
No, I do agree with you, but doesn't it also seem like he had such a shift in composure? Like, when it finally hit him that he was not worthy and that he was going to die. But I think it was more of that's why was he thought that's fair.
He thought with his knowledge. It's like somebody who plays Madden their whole life and they study every play that could ever happen in Madden. And then they get put into the opportunity to be a head coach once and then they get blown out. Like, to me it's that kind of realization.
I do agree, but I'm saying going into it, it's like, imagine being the fan who wins the opportunity to be on the field and that they're told that, oh yeah, you'll die at the end. And you might think like, oh, well, I'll be able to impress them so much that it won't even matter. You know, like, I'm not just one of these normal people who are coming. I don't know why I'm harping on this so much. It really doesn't matter. I just like, I guess that's where I thought there was slightly part of it coming from was that he just was ignorant to the fact that he was even going to die because he was so blinded by the stardom of it all. You know,
I'll say if there was evidence that proved to that, taking the picture would indicate that, because again, a picture is usually a memory you want to save or keep.
Yeah, because that's the only thing that was weird. And also, they never hinted that he was, like, suicidal. I thought that they were going to bring that up. Like, I thought maybe when they revealed the whole everyone was going to die that night thing, that they were going to, like, he was going to bring up, like, oh, well, me and my girlfriend had a suicide pact, but she broke up with me. Or something. You know what I mean? But it never did that. It was all just about the fact that he was so obsessed with this chef, you know, and that lifestyle. And I love it how he brings up, he's like, oh, I've watched Top Chef and like all these shows like 30 times, and like, oh man, I they're so amazing. Like, it's just really funny, because I know that feeling of being really passionate about something, and at first it seems endearing when he's talking about it. You're like, oh wow, he really likes this thing.
And then you can tell he doesn't have a filter or realize the appropriate time to utilize that information.
Yeah, like when he starts telling Anya Taylor-Joy, Margot's her character Margot, to just like shut up, when he's just like, just shut the fuck up and eat, okay? I'm trying to enjoy this.
Like, I was like, please punch him in the face.
Right.
And then she does end up slapping him.
Now, yeah, that's true. Which now again, and this isn't to excuse Tyler's actions by any means. He was still a dickhole. But it also puts it into new context when you find out later that, again, they're not dating. He doesn't know her. He paid her to be there. He spent...
Yeah, it's not her. It's not his date. He's literally like, I hired you for this.
Yeah, and he's still a dick and should still be respectful, obviously, and be like, hey, if you don't enjoy it, that's fine. Just maybe just have a few bites just to play nice. You know, he could be nicer about it, whatever. But yeah, it brings it into a new light when you find out later, like, oh, fuck, okay, like, he doesn't know her. Like, they're not dating, so he doesn't owe her anything, I guess? I don't know. But it's still, he's a total fucking dick. He's an idiot. But okay, so the bread scene, that leads us into the bread scene, which is great.
Oh my gosh, it was hysterical.
The whole setup of the chef being like, the bread is the food of the common people, you know?
You are not the common people.
Yeah, but you are not the common people, so you get no bread. And he just brings them a plate of side accompaniment. And I love what is called accompaniments without the company or something. I can't remember what it was called, but it was really funny. I wish I could remember.
Yeah, some of the titles were really clever for the dishes.
Yeah, no, that was some of the best humor, was when the dish titles would come up, and yeah, no, they were really good. But yeah, no, that scene really showed a lot about each character, and this is when I really started to like pay attention, where I started to get into the movie, and where I was started to be like, okay, even if this is a cannibal movie, at least I'm invested. You know, I'm starting to get into it. Because I don't know if you kind of picked up on this, because I mean, it's not supposed to be super obvious, but I think like each character, or each table, I guess I should say, has such a different experience of what they're getting, that it's almost like hilarious to see so many different people have the same thing in front of them, but experience it so fucking differently. Like Tyler is just obsessing. Like, he's just, everything in front of him, he's just like, oh my fucking god, look at this. This is amazing. This is unbelievable.
Can do no wrong.
Yeah. And then the food critic feels like everything is just for her. Oh, this is all just a show for me. Oh, look at him. Oh, this is so cute. He's doing this all for me. Like, it's very like egocentric.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's even that line she says later where like when the shit starts really going down and people are dying, where she's just like, I think this is all a show for us, you know?
Yep, just for us.
Yeah, so it shows that she's just like in it in her own head. And then John Leguizamo's character, which by the way doesn't have a name. We talked about this a little before the podcast started. He's just called Movie Star.
That's just all. So in terms of like show your work.
Which I think, by the way, I don't know if this was on purpose, but I think it was a Mario reference. Did you catch that? Like, because I think they're making fun of him playing the Super Mario brother in the 90s movie. Where he played. Because remember there was the movie where he was a dentist instead of a plumber, and it was called like Calling Dr. Sunshine, or he was a doctor. Or something like that. Oh,
and technically there was also a Dr. Mario game.
Okay, there you go.
That's
I'm just saying.
Hysterical.
But yeah, I think it was supposed to be a kind of slight at that. So I think he was playing himself almost. He was just John Leguizamo. But his character, he has a fucking, like, I don't know why this line stuck with me, but it did. And I'm so glad it did, because it reveals so much later about his character, is that he goes, you know, the shit around the shit, or no, what is he? I'm sorry, I want to get this right. He says like, you know, the shit around the lack of shit tastes really good. And when you find out later that his character is someone who literally has almost done nothing for himself, but just thrives off of the name drops that he uses around him, it's fucking genius. He literally ate this meal, and he's just like, oh, look at these, all of these side dishes without the main thing. Oh, that's so fucking good. Like, I was literally like sitting there reveling in that line. Like, holy shit, how did they do that? That's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, they did a great job of setting things up that had payoffs much later on.
Sorry, drop my drink. We're good. Yeah, no, definitely the setup and payoffs were perfect in this. Even like the businessmen, those were the last things I have.
Yep.
Oh well, I also mentioned the rich couple, but they didn't do anything. But that was kind of the point, right? Then they bring that up later. The rich couple just kind of sits there, and then every once in a while they'll be like, "Man, she kind of looks like our daughter," and he'll be like, "No, shut up, bitch."
Oh, I think that was more of, well, to punish definitely the husband, and then I think her just being in that kind of level of wealth of association and maybe ignorance.
Well, I think, I mean,
husband was
obviously,
definitely being punished.
Yeah, well, they were both being punished for the fact that they were just, what's
elite?
They were looking a gift
like
horse in the mouth. Exactly.
Because he asked
didn't realize
them
what
to name
they
a single
had.
favorite item on the menu for as many times as you guys have come here. This should be a once in a lifetime experience.
Exactly. This is a restaurant that people would die to eat at, and they've eaten there 11 times, I think he says.
Yeah, he couldn't name a single menu that he had.
Yeah. So it's I think, they were definitely that commentary on the people who just sit in their wealth without even realizing what they have, you know? And
yep, it's just normal for them. It's like getting McDonald's to them at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was really good, like, without being, I don't know, because I guess it was on the nose. Like, it's not like they're being secretive about the commentary that they're making, but it's not
even talk about, main character Margot. My brain was like, you need to pronounce the T in that. Margot, he keeps telling her, and you don't really understand why at first, you don't belong here. Yeah. And at first it's like, okay, what are you, like this super fit? But he means more, you don't belong with them, and you shouldn't be here tonight because it's not for you. And that's actually like a compliment in sense coming from him.
I know his character. He was so good in this part.
So
Ray Fiennes.
Well written, because you go from hating to like, no, and then you're like,
feeling bad.
Yeah, no, I definitely hate you now. And then you're like, but what?
Yeah. No, like at the beginning, he seems like your typical douchebag, Gordon Ramsay, yes, chef kind of guy.
Also, I love Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But yeah, so he seemed like your typical kind of hard-assed chef, But then there's these scenes where, like that scene when he goes into the bathroom with Margot, and he's just like...
So uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
So not only is it uncomfortable, but I kind of felt bad for him, because he has this kind of genuine moment of like, what didn't you like? Why don't you like it? Why haven't you eaten? What's happening? Because he's a chef, and I could tell that in that moment they were trying to convey the feeling of like, that's what he does. He's meant to be there to feed people, and she's not eating. What is wrong? And I almost felt bad for him, and it showed a moment of like sympathy where he was just like, what's going on? Why won't you eat? And then he almost immediately spins that and becomes like evil again. But yeah, he played it so fucking well.
That's funny, because the way I read that scene, and again, maybe this is coming from a place of the work I do, kind of like leading in. I was just like, first off, she's a paying customer. She doesn't have to do whatever she doesn't want to do. You can't run into the bathroom like my mind was going through all the things that like.
But that's the point. That's kind of, I think that's the point, right? Where it's like, we've gotten to such a degree of public service for these kind of jobs where all we're here to do is just make them, like, they could sit down, order food, spit on it, put a cigarette out in it, tell you it was shit, tip you nothing, and then leave. And then that was your night. You know what I mean? And that was your night. And that's, you're supposed to just smile the whole time and go, yep, that was fantastic. Thank you. And I think for this guy, he's like, hey, you spent $1,250 to be here. what's wrong? Why haven't you eaten? What's going on? Like, what have I done? What did I do wrong? This is my life. Like it's like this mix of.
I forget, at this point, does he know that is the right person or not?
No, he's questionable. Like he knows that she's not supposed to be there, but he's still hoping that she'll play along. I think that was his kind of hope, was that like if she can prove herself to be just another elite that doesn't give a fuck. But I think that's another reason he was testing her. He was like, why haven't you eaten? And then maybe she might be like, oh, well, this is all too much for me. And then he can be like, oh, well, you belong with us. Because you know how he makes that kind of choice for her? He's like, hey, Are you with them as the people who take, or are you with us, the people who give?
A choice and like doing it like publicly at times.
But you know what's, it's a beautiful metaphor for life. Because literally she asks him, she's like, well, I'm going to die at the end, so it's fucking arbitrary anyway. And he's like, no, it's not arbitrary. Are you going to take or are you going to give? And it's like, yeah, we're all going to die at the end of our life. So are you going to be the person who takes or are you going to give? Like, it's not arbitrary at the end of the day, or is it? Is it? I don't know. Like, it actually is really a beautiful metaphor in that moment for literally almost all of life. Like, yeah, is it an arbitrary choice or not? That's up to you.
Yeah, very well done.
Yeah. Okay, so that goes into the third meal, right? So none of the crazy, even though we spoiled some stuff, we've talked a bit already. We won't go too. We're not going to break down every single goddamn scene in this movie, obviously. But this is when shit starts really going off the rails.
Yeah.
What was his name? Like Jason, Josh, or something like that.
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Yep. Chef Jeremy. The Mess was the name of his meal. How about you? Why don't you let the people know what happened, Mitchell?
So
since you suggested this movie,
Jeremy is introduced by Chef Slowick, right? Slowick?
Yes. Slowick.
Yeah. Slowick. And he's pretty much introduced as saying, Jeremy is never going to be as incredible as I am. Jeremy's never going to have the talent that I'll have. He's great, and that's kind of all he's ever going to be. He's never going to get... And just tearing into Jeremy's heart. And then he's like, you understand this, right, Jeremy? And Jeremy says, yes. Yes, chef, proudly. And also
with a
terrified.
little tear in his eye, though.
Yeah.
He's swelling up.
A little terrified. And then what does he say? Something like, you know what you need to do now, or are you ready?
Oh, well, but before that, real quick, I do want to say that, again, Ray Fiennes is so good because he was still making them sound like compliments. Like, he was so good at being that managerial vibe of like, he's so incredible at what he does, but he'll never quite be me. Isn't that right, Jeremy? Where it's like, it sounds like he's giving him a compliment, but he's very clearly like backhand slapping him and being like, yeah, but you suck. Like, he's so good at that tone.
You're never going to reach my capabilities.
Exactly. So then, yeah, I believe, yeah, he says something like, why don't you show everyone what we have tonight, or,
And so they lay out a giant square white tarp, and I think they lay some...
Oh, some herbs.
Yeah. Not garnish like seasoning, but like giant leaf sticks. And then he blows his brains out, metaphorically.
Yeah. Oh, metaphorically? No, I'd say literally. He puts a gun in his fucking mouth and blows his brains
very
out.
Forcefully.
Yeah. And it was one of those moments where I felt like I saw it coming,
but wasn't really expecting them to do it.
Yeah, like they had the tarp out. As I was like, okay, is he just going to like cut his arm off and then serve it to him? This is the part where I was like, cannibal. This is where we're going to get into
where if it's going to go cannibal, this is where they're going to
He's going to cut off each one of his fingers and put it on their plates.
You're going to eat Jeremy now. You guys all have to devour him.
Exactly. And that's where I thought it was going. And then he blew his brains out, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then while they're all panicking, they show what the actual food item is, and it's like almost raw meat with bone marrow and all it, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, oh, this is fucking crazy. I was losing it.
And then he's like, I love when like he does this. Everyone's freaking out because you just watch somebody blow their brains out, and he's like, hey, whoa, hey, relax, hey, chill.
Oh, and Tyler's just loving it. He's eating the food. He's like, oh god, have you tried this?
Yeah, and then again, this is I think where the critic is saying, I think this is for us. I think this is all for us.
Yeah, they're all starting to question, is this just fake? Oh, no, we skipped a meal. I'm sorry. We did skip a meal, which we don't have to talk too much about it, but it was the tacos. That definitely happened before this. That was that must have been the fourth course. The third course was the tacos.
Because that's when he gives her the ultimatum.
Yes. And again, the visual metaphors are beautiful because they have the really off-putting story of him talking with his mom about his childhood. And because there's this old woman sitting there the whole time, and you're just like, who is this? And then he finally talks about her, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, whoa, what the fuck? And he just keeps going about like their abusive father and how she's drunk every night. And it's like, what the fuck? And then, he says, and so I had to stab a pair of kitchen scissors into my dad's thigh. And then right when he says that, you see all of the chefs putting tiny pairs of scissors into the chicken thighs. Yep. And I was like, I almost wanted to clap. I was like, oh, that's great. I was like, what a fucking amazing,
they were golden
like
too.
tie-in. Yeah. And so then they serve all those out, and all of the taco shells, tortillas, I should say, had laser imprintings on them. Right?
That's right. Yeah. And it was of a picture kind of their sin. Not sin per se, but of their wrongdoing.
I was literally about to say, their wrongdoings, so to say. Like the businessmen. Because
not all of them is, I think, technically sin.
Yeah, right. Like the businessman was like the money laundering. Yep. The rich guy was I was about to say fidelity, but that's not the word. Infidelity. Yeah, when your high fidelity has gone out of date, it becomes infidelity. But yeah, no, so and then Tyler's was pictures of him taking pictures of the food.
Yeah. Which I like that they called it out fairly quickly, of them saying like, we know that we told you not to do this and you did it anyways.
Yeah, and you're immediate, and he's all upset. Do you think he doesn't like me?
I was just like,
apologize?
What?
Apologize for what? Yeah. And I like it. Oh, John Leguizamo's character was just a poster of his Calling Dr. Sunshine movie. And he's just like, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, his was probably like the least damaging. It was just more personal.
Because, I mean, him and his assistant were probably the least interesting characters, I guess, of the movie. Because we haven't even talked about him yet. But yeah, she's like quitting her job because she doesn't feel like he's doing anything, and she's kind of right. He's not really doing anything.
And do they have a thing? I couldn't tell.
Yes. I almost for sure they're sleeping together, but he has a wife, because she says, like, while she's quitting, she says like, here's like my business phone, here's my work wallet, here's your keys for your beach house, here's your keys for your second beach house that your wife doesn't know about, here's the like that type of, there was like that type of line. So clearly he's cheating on him with her, but yeah, they were good characters. I like John Leguizamo, but at least memorable out of all of them,
Fair.
Yeah. So yeah, the guy shoots himself. That's when hell starts breaking loose. Tyler is acting weird because he's not reacting to the fact that people are dying. Like,
again, he cares more about the food in front of him than the fact that somebody may have just shot themselves in front of him.
Yeah, and at this point, I was still kind of like maybe thinking it's a cannibal thing, because I was kind of like, does he know about it still? That's why he's acting so cool, and they're about to eat half of the people who were there. I'm still kind of not sure what the hell is going on. So yeah, I think this is when she asks him to make the ultimatum, right? Or asks her, like the
Does he
chef
set
brings.
the timer, or is this when the timer is up now?
Let me see. Let me go through this real quick. All right. So anyway, so yeah, we won't dwell too much long on each scene. Obviously, I'm not going to go through each scene. But no, so after he asks her to decide the 15 minutes, that's when they have the whole angel investor scene. He drowns the investor.
That scene too was intense without you having like chainsaws in somebody's face. Just the whole atmosphere of that scene.
Yeah, and they even set up the wings
pressure
earlier, because you see her when she looks out the window, Margot, to go smoke in the bathroom. She looks out the window and a guy is carrying a set of wings into the woods, and it's kind of like, what the fuck? Like, why is he carrying wings? And then,
yep, that's right.
Like 15, 20 minutes later, sure enough, he's floating in the air, the angel investor. Yeah, it was a great scene. So then that's when, right when that ends, she's like, you have to decide, like, are you with them or are you with us? And I think that's when she says it's revealed, like, that's when she reveals that she's like a prostitute and stuff, right? I believe.
Yeah, he says like, you're not one of them, but to the point where it was like, you're one of us. You're a service worker. Because he even asks, do you enjoy your work?
Yeah, and she was like, well, I used to, maybe not so much anymore. And that is such a genuine response to something like that, because I feel like that happens a lot of the times, like even with almost any job, especially in the service industry. It's like, yeah, you enjoy it at first and things are nice, and then slowly it just starts to drain you, and you start to see the worst in people, Yeah,
it's tough, and you got to take care of yourself so that way you don't get burned out, because it is it can be a tough industry.
Yeah, clearly from this movie.
Yeah, very, very much so from this movie.
So I'm sure I'll be skipping over a few things here, but there is eventually a scene where the chef basically like trolls Tyler.
It was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie.
It was so embarrassing.
Go ahead and break it down. Break it down for us, because I knew someone like you.
Oh man, I hated this scene.
You just kept putting yourself like in his situation for some reason.
Dude, stop. If you ever fuck you, because if you ever needed to incite my imposter syndrome any more than this moment of this movie, like, dude, it's so bad.
Go ahead, break it down for us.
So, okay, the chef basically is like hyping Tyler up at the table, like, man, you really know your stuff. He's like, yeah. He's like, man, you tasted the bergamot in the tea. You were able to, you knew what a Paco Jet was, which does have a great comeback later, by the way. I don't know if you noticed. But anyway, so he's like, yeah, you knew what that was. You're doing, and he's like, yeah, I follow what you do. I'm really intuitive. I know what I'm doing. And he's like, all right, well, how about, you know what? You make our next course. Everyone gather around. Let's watch Tyler cook for us. And I even
like the way he writes his name on the jacket, where it doesn't look right.
Dude, it looked like a child wrote it, and I've seen my name written like that a million times, and I was like, oh my God, like it hurt. Like he's like, yeah, let's personalize this for you, and then just fucking writes it. Like, I think he might have even written it with his left hand. Like, he didn't even give a fuck. He was just like, whatever. But yeah, so then he's like, hey, what do you want to make for us? And the first thing he says is like leeks. He's like, I need leeks. And he's like, oh, you're making something with leeks? Oh, that's good. What else do you need? Shallots. Oh, wow. Everyone gather around, get in closer. And I'm like, dude, I'm sweating. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like trying to chop them. And I think the chef says something like, oh, look at this chopping technique that we've all been so ignorant to. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he grills into him so hard.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And then, yeah. So basically he forces him to cook this meal that ends up like absolute trash. And
Lamb's raw.
Dude, like, but all I could think was, and again, like, I like to think I'm not this person, but of course they had to make his name Tyler, so they made it even worse. But I have that's my worst fear, man, is to like meet someone that is like imagine like last episode we talked, or a couple episodes ago, we talked about the Joyner Lucas thing, you meeting Joyner. Like imagine meeting Joyner Lucas and then he's like, oh no shit, okay, here, hold on, I got my producer here real quick, hold on, here, he's gonna lay down a beat, lay down something for me real quick, give me a verse. And you're just like, what? And it's like, yeah, no, right now, do it. I might sign you. And it's like, well, okay. Like, dude, that, even though that's a dream come true at the same time, that's one of my worst fucking fears, because it's the worst scenario to be put in. It's like, you're not ready for it. This is not what this was supposed to be about. And yet you're judging me on all of my attributes. And of course, the whole point was that Tyler doesn't actually know.
Yeah, Tyler,
anything.
He deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different because I know going into it, I would still be like, oh, I know how to write a song. I know how to, I know how to write a melody. I can do it.
How to produce a track. Yeah.
It's different. I get that. But that imposter syndrome flares up so much watching this where I'm like, oh my God, like, fuck. Oh God, if I had to do this, this is like a nightmare. Like,
The whole time I was just watching it, I was just like, oh yeah, he deserves it. I was like, get him. But I knew for a fact of like, oh man, this part's gonna hurt a little bit.
Yeah. And he whispers in his ear. He's like, you. He's just like, hey, well, you don't even know what he says. You don't even hear what he says. You just know he whispers, and you just see Tyler like crying. He's just starting to tear up, and then he just walks away and starts taking his tie off. And you're like, oh well. Don't know if we'll see him again, but we'll see. And that, it was funny because I wasn't...
See him hanging around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he might be hanging around somewhere. And there was that scene where the chef told Margot to go grab something for him, the barrel for the dessert, which was just a barrel of oil, by the way. I love that. It was just literally an explosive barrel. But he was like, yeah, we needed that barrel. It's very important. And so he goes and he sends her to the smokehouse. And I was convinced in my head, just to where the direction of how fucked up this movie was, I thought Tyler was just going to be smoking in the smokehouse. Like I thought his body, like he just threw himself into the fucking oven.
This was the second time I thought they might have introduced cannibalism.
Right. There was still almost a little bit of it, right?
This was the last shot that I thought, like, if it was, this would have been like the secret reveal.
Yeah, that Tyler was the main course for the night, and that's why he was so excited to be there and all that shit or something, But he was like, yeah, it'll be in the smokehouse, and I was like, oh, Tyler's going to be in there. But then sure enough, no, Tyler's just in his office hanging, feet dangling. It's a quick scene, too. In fact, my mom missed it, because me and her talked on the phone, and she was like, what happened to Tyler? She was like, he walked away, and then we never saw him. Yeah, she was like, we never saw him again. And I was like, oh no, he was hanging in his office. And she was like, oh, you know what? I think I do remember that.
She literally told him to kill himself.
Yeah.
Or he literally told him.
Yeah, right. No, so yeah, the ending is great though. So well, we have that little moment with the Coast Guard, which is beautiful, because I thought it was going to double as something else, because at first the Coast Guard, is about to leave, but then he's like, oh, I know you. You're John Leguizamo. And he's like, yeah, that's me. And he goes to like get his signature and stuff. And you already knew, like, if you've seen a movie before, you knew that he was going to write something on that signature. I mean, that's what you do.
Oh yeah, it was going to be help, SOS.
Yeah, this guy's crazy, something. It was going to be something. But what I also thought it was a moment for the chef to learn that sometimes people just like crap. Like, and even though the movie didn't do that, and it's okay it didn't do that, I thought that still would have been an interesting message, because there's a moment where the Coast Guard is like, yeah, me and my wife, man, we really love that movie. It's the one where you're a doctor or something like that. And then he like looks at the chef and he's like, yeah, it's Calling Dr. Sunshine. Or Paging Doctor, whatever it is. And like, I thought it was a moment where it was kind of like making fun of, like not making fun of, but like people who like Adam Sandler movies or something like that, where it's just like, yeah, there's genuinely people who just enjoy Adam Sandler movies. Like there's nothing wrong with that. They're just crap movies for you to eat popcorn and laugh and enjoy, you know? And I thought for a moment, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, they're almost throwing that in the chef's face, being like, ha, see, it's not all about fancy glitz.
Yeah.
It's sometimes people just enjoy, you know, whatever. They enjoy what they enjoy, you know? But then no, the Coast Guard was a chef or another cook the whole time.
Yeah, that was geniusly played.
Right? And the fact that that he put the candle out while he was talking to Margot in the one scene, and then it follows up with the Coast Guard lighting the lighter with his gun and then lighting that same candle. It's like, ooh. It's like, did you literally plan this entire like up to that? Like, you literally planned putting out the candle. Like, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Yes, some 5D chess.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy, is that why you're bringing up chess? All right, we could talk about Queen's Gambit for a little bit. No, I'm just
No, it wasn't. But that is quite the funny coincidence.
Yeah. So basically, Anya Taylor-Joy's character ends up beating the main villain by ordering a cheeseburger.
Oh, but first, can we talk about the creepy scene of the female chef and the head chef?
Oh, yeah. Well, the female chef and the head chef. I remember.
So
The course. I'm missing one of the courses. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You wanna talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah. So I don't remember which course it was, but it was towards the end. There's a female chef, and she leads them all outside. Well, all the men? No. That's a different portion. So she takes them all outside, and while they're all standing out there, men and women, the head chef comes on over, and she starts talking about her time there and how this guy had spent a lot of times making passes at her.
Advancements.
And at first you're like, where the hell is this going? Because again, they're about to introduce one of their courses, and as we've seen, it gets messy.
Yeah, it gets a little weird. Thanks, Jeremy. R.I.P. Jeremy. By the way, I love it how on the menu it said all the food items, and at the very bottom it just said R.I.P. Jeremy.
Oh yeah. Again, the food item titles were hysterical.
Hilarious. Anyway, keep going.
But so, as she's telling the story, you're almost like, what is she about to sacrifice herself to this guy? So she turns and faces him, and she has scissors.
Yeah, I think even the same golden scissors that were used on the chicken
golden
thighs.
Scissors, and again the whole thigh, and then she stabs the head chef in his thigh. I thought it was in his crotch.
Dude, I thought it was his dick.
I thought
yes,
for sure.
Dude,
she was taking
the
that
angle
off.
That they put that at, but I was also
gone.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm glad we had that same insertion. I 100% thought she stabbed his dick, because it also kind of, that would have been the ultimate metaphor of like, oh, you don't deserve your dick anymore. Like, obviously, right? That's what it felt like.
yeah, that's what I kind of thought there was it was leaning towards. But so no, after that, then they have it where the women go inside to do their own dish, and then the men have an opportunity to try to run. And then they're none of them are in any kind of shape to outrun anybody.
Yeah,
and then stupid fucking Tyler is just standing there, and they're like, "Go, run!"
You too. Yeah,
and he's just like, oh.
I almost thought he was smart at first. I wasn't sure if what was happening, because for a second I thought like maybe if he didn't run, he couldn't be caught. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know if that was going to be the twist, but then the chef just goes,
I thought the first guy was genius.
Oh, and he just,
they gave you a time limit and they started, because that has happened in the Boruto series, at least like for one.
Oh, here we go. This is the segment Mitchell talks about Boruto for 20 minutes.
The next 4 hours.
I did really like that.
They get them all. They get them all. I think if another guy would have ran with him when they first took off, they would have gotten the boat off quicker, might have gotten away. There was an interesting comment where the chef makes a comment right before. No, it was right before the Coast Guard shows up, where he said, "If you guys really wanted to, you guys probably could have escaped a couple times by now."
Yeah, they could have overpowered them. You know what I mean? Like they're like, I mean, I don't know. There were a lot of.
They could have tried. They could have put up a fight.
They could have done something. Like there was only 2 people blocking the exit. If all 11 or 12 of them, whatever it was, charged the exit, they would have made it. You know what I mean?
Like the only thing that sucks is you have a team of chefs that know how to use knives and are all holding knives.
Which is a good point that one of them makes, because I think he says like, "Hey, when they bring out the knives and forks, we just pick them up and we all attack the staff." And then one of them goes, "Do you think we have better knife skills than they do?" And it's like, yeah, it's a good point.
But yeah, very, very interesting points made. But yeah, so that kind of gets us to the end of the movie.
Oh, but I did want to say that scene.
Oh yeah.
It felt like a cool, like, okay, because it's obvious without saying. It's very clearly the commentary on women in our culture not being equally. So it's almost like it's making up for it by giving them their own meal while the men have to go out and suffer, you know? That's kind of like but at the same time, I thought it was funny that there is no repercussion. Did you notice that? The men just come back and they just didn't get to eat the meal. Like there was just a game of hide and seek. Did you notice that? Nobody died.
Yeah, nobody actually.
So there's almost like a deeper commentary on the fact that these men had to go through, but nothing happened. It's almost like the men had to we have to sacrifice ourselves.
It was a formality, if anything.
Exactly. It felt like a formality. It didn't feel like the men were actually sacrificing themselves for the women to have their own meal. It felt like the men were out playing a game.
Well, I also thought it was interesting how quickly that some of these men were to run away from their women, and not be like, hold on, let's figure out a plan. Like it was. Mm-hmm. I'll go send help. Bye.
Yep.
I was just like, that's very telling.
Yeah, but it does put yourself in. It does put yourself in that moment though of like, if that's your possible only chance of escape for both of you, do you do it? Do you take that? Like, would you just look at Amanda and have that moment of like, do I go? Should I go? I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm out of here. You know, like I don't know. I'd feel that way too. Where it's like I'd look at Audrey and be like, this might be our only chance, you know, like.
No, that, but again, the movie does it well where there doesn't seem to be a clear cut way out of any given thing.
Yeah, no, he clearly set everything up to know exactly what the people were going to do and respond to. And that all kind of leads up to the end where you think they're all gonna die. And then Margot orders a cheeseburger because she noticed there's a picture in his office that when she's kind of snooping around where she finds the radio to call the Coast Guard, I guess.
Which is in his his cabin.
Excuse me. Yes. Oh, which I loved. The cabin is an exact replica of the kitchen.
Yup. Like I thought it might have been the thing on the other side of the door of that stone room, and that she was right next to them that whole time. I didn't realize it. Oh,
that would have been interesting.
Because they never end up showing what's behind that stone door.
You know what? You're right, but I think the idea is that the kitchen was made as an exact replica of his house. Yeah. So that room was going to be there no matter what, even though. So I bet there's nothing behind that door. You know what I mean? Like in the actual kitchen.
That would make more sense. Yeah.
But in his real house, that's where he lives. That's where he sleeps. All of his stuff. But yeah, there's a picture in that room of him eating a cheeseburger or cooking a cheeseburger at one of his first jobs where he got Employee of the Month, and it's the only picture that he's genuinely smiling in. So I think it was kind of her realization that he does have a genuine love for this craft, but lost it somewhere, you know?
Yep. And she was the whole, can I get it to go?
Yeah, no, she nails it. And I'm not going to lie, I'll say this, I never thought making a cheeseburger would make me so emotional. But the look on Ray Fiennes' face while he's making this fucking cheeseburger.
It's such a great job.
Dude, how do I still feel bad for this guy? He's still a monster, but I'm watching him make this burger like, oh, this poor guy. This is all he wants to do. He just wants to make food for people who actually want to eat it. It's so...
I thought it was crazy, right? That, okay, if you just heard without seeing this movie, if for obviously all the people who are okay with spoilers, she defeated the main boss by ordering a cheeseburger, and he was like, yeah, you can go. I get it. It sounds kind of
dumb,
not good story writing, but the impact that making a cheeseburger, something that is considered so, again, commoner, so regular everyday person, for this fine level, because before she mentions a speech about how you're supposed to cook with love and nothing's been cooked with love, and it kind of it's like the solve for pi asking a computer kind of scene where you see him not be able to calculate anymore what he's trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And so when she goes the whole route of, I want a cheeseburger, and then he makes it for her and she's like, I wanted to go, and then they prep it and let her go, that makes sense. And then nobody else does or tries it. Everybody else kind of seems like they almost feel like they deserve it.
Well, you know what? I think I
couldn't tell without that part.
I think they're just so pathetic. You know, they're just so lost in their life that, I mean, literally the one woman says thank you. The wife of Richard.
Oh yeah.
Dick, literally, like, as he's coming out and he's like, this is our final offering to bring us all up to the flame, like to kill us all. She's like, thank you. Like, obviously, I think that's for her also being like, I just want to get out of this life, this relationship. Like, I'm fucking, obviously this sucks. But they're just so lost in their life that, one, I think the joke is that they would never order a cheeseburger. You know, it's like, oh, well, they would never order a cheeseburger, so why would they even do, you know, and yeah, that they're just so kind of hoity-toity and pathetic that they just accepted it. Like, yep, this is what we have to do. This is what we paid for, you know?
That's wild.
I know. They did, what was I going to say?
Oh, and then he kills them all.
Oh yeah, he kills them all. Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, it's like a s'more thing where he puts a chocolate hat on them. He gives them a marshmallow dress, and then he puts graham crackers on the floor. Yeah, and I never thought about it, and it's such an interesting take on it.
Bastard of food.
Yeah, he says it's like the ultimate bastardization of like flavor and combinations, but the thing that saves it is fire. And once you melt it all together, it becomes a good thing. And then it's like he sets the whole fucking house on fire. But as some final thoughts, I will say, because I don't know how much you're involved. I say involved, that's maybe the wrong word, but I don't know how much you watch videos or listen to stuff about like the foodie world or like culinary stuff necessarily. Do you follow any of that?
I do for work purposes, but it's typically more on the people doing the cooking than the food itself, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. See, like, there's a few podcasts I listen to. Shout out Hot Dog is a Sandwich. It's a great one. There's a few podcasts I listen to that like go deeper into the food culture of things and like how people respond to the popularity of foods and things like that. And I think that this movie, while also being a great commentary on everything, like, I think you could almost replace food with anything in this movie. It's like I was saying, like, make food music. And it can be like, oh, you've been invited to this island where you'll get an exclusive, you know, show put on by Paul McCartney or Skrillex or, you know, whatever. It's like, and they're going to show you all of their music and then you'll be able to meet them. And like, you could almost replace the food aspect of this with any kind of art or creation and it would work, you know?
I just pictured somebody like like Beyonce going to one of her fans, and I'm sure Beyonce would never do this. We're just saying for the framework of the joke in reference to the movie, like Beyonce going to one of her fans, and her fans like, I know the lyrics to all your songs, and she's like, sing it right now, sing it exactly how I sing
gun,
it.
puts her to the throat.
And then she starts singing, and she's like, wow, I've never heard a song sung so far out of note. like just start critiquing the way that
Go
Tyler
hang
gets
yourself.
critiqued.
Yeah,
Exactly. Because oh my god.
Yeah,
And I just picture like if I went and Eminem was just like,
right. I know, right? Just
why would
suck.
you even?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Oh well, that did like because Jeremy, the character that killed himself, I did have in my notes. He is a great like metaphor or representation of the struggling artist who feels that they'll never reach their goals, so they might as well die trying. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'll literally kill myself for my art if it means I'll reach this level.
Yep.
But yeah, no, no, but from the foodie kind of perspective, because I don't want to consider myself a foodie, I guess. Like, I don't travel the world to eat certain foods and all that, but I like learning about the cultures of food and like how it infects our pop culture and all those things. So like listening to those podcasts, this movie is a perfect commentary on that world as well, because there is such a subculture of people who don't really like food, but they love this like materialistic, like, oh, do you use a sous vide machine? Oh, have you tried that new street elote? Oh, it's so like they treat food as like a trend, you know,
like a designer like clothing line.
Yeah, and that's where I felt like Tyler was that representation, like the Paco jet, where it's like it turns things into powder, that they talk about at the beginning. I think that's supposed to be, even though I think it's a real machine, that's supposed to kind of be making fun of like the sous vide machine and the emulsion blender, like all these things that like home chefs think that they need to own to be like Gordon Ramsay, you know, like yep. you don't have an air fryer, you know, like that type of thing, where it's like, oh well, you don't know how to cook, you know.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, get one. No, so it's but it's a great commentary on that, because it really has those moments where it shines to like call out those people who don't know anything about that culture, but are like, oh yeah. No, I thought it was really funny. But the Paco jet thing. Did you notice that that's what she uses to kill her head chef or her head sous chef, like assistant?
What?
Yeah, so the scene where the assistant, the one woman who was serving everyone, like the head server at the restaurant, where they face off with each other. Yeah, Margot kills her with the Paco jet.
That's right. Yep.
I thought it was a good moment of like, oh hell yeah, you've been talking about it the whole movie, and this has like a final moment with it. But yeah, no. Oh yeah, I guess we could probably keep rambling about this movie all night, but let's wrap this up a little bit. What are your final thoughts?
So my final thoughts, have one thing to say, and then I'll get to my rating. Producers of this movie: Seth Reese, Betsy Kosh, Adam McKay, Michael Sled, Will Tracy, and Will Ferrell.
What?
Will Ferrell.
No. Hold on. Shut the fuck
Google
up.
it.
No, hold on.
Google it.
Producers?
Budget was $30 million.
Producers. Wait. Wait. What? Dude, well maybe that's where the comedy must have came from then.
Because it's genius timing and genius comedy.
Holy shit, dude. Okay, and Adam McKay. Okay, I didn't look into the writer of this. He wrote for Saturday Night Live, but he wrote for Funny or Die, the website that Will Ferrell and him started. Do you remember those skits with like the little girl that he would have come to the door, and she'd be like, "Give me that money," and he'd be like, "I don't have your money."
Landlord. She's harassing him. God, those are so funny.
Wow, this is a Funny or Die movie? That's so fucking weird.
Yeah, so I figured that was worth throwing in there because I had the list, of course, of cast pulled up, and then I was reading the producers, and I was really confused for a second when I saw that name.
Wow. He also worked on The Other Guys, which I just watched the other night. Great movie. I'm a peacock.
Yeah.
You gotta let me fly.
He was in The Other Guys. But yeah, my rating is I give this a solid I I kind of want to give it a 10 out of 10. I can't tell if I'm just.
Oh my
But
god.
here's why. There wasn't anything that I was left with still trying to figure out. It explained everything, and it did so in a way where it didn't have to explain it in the moment for me to feel like I understood it.
Okay.
Its use of symbolism throughout the movie, it creatively added humor in places like again the meal dish names and or descriptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the uncomfortable scenes, everything was done to make you set up to expect that you were going to get one thing and it was something else. Where maybe 9 out of 10, but I don't see anything wrong with it, which is why I feel bad putting it anything below a 10 out of 10. I just really enjoyed it. It was a movie that at the end I was like, wow, yeah, 2 hours, 10 minutes, and I enjoyed all of it.
You know what? That's fair, Mitchell. It's hard for me to fault you for that. But I am. No, I'm just kidding. No, it is really hard to fault this movie for anything. Like I don't feel like it drags. You know, it's like an hour and 45. It goes by pretty quick. You don't feel the length. And it's not even that long in the first place. There's each like act keeps you engaged. There's never a moment where you get bored because it's like, oh, well, here's the 20 minutes where they're not doing anything. Like it always is doing
Especially
something.
for being shot so much in one room.
Yes, one location. It's very impressive. I think, and who knows, maybe like rewatching it, I might have a different kind of a viewpoint on it. I guess it's just that I didn't come out of it with that feeling of like, holy fuck, this movie like changed my life. You know, like in a way, like that's always my 10 out of 10 is like when I come out of a movie and I'm like, holy fuck, this like, I'm going to be thinking about this movie for weeks and I'm going to be talking about it and I'm probably going to watch it again before like we were saying with the Batman. Like I honestly personally I give the Batman a 10 out of 10. It has its flaws, but like that's like I was constantly thinking about that movie and wanted to see it multiple times. So on a personal level, I think I got to give this movie more of an 8 out of 10, leaning towards a 9, like more closer to a 9 than a 7. But I think it's just not. I think I'm just getting tired of the, like I said, the commentary on class divide. You know, like we have White Lotus, we have Glass Onion, we have like the Boys does it. Like I don't know, there's just been shows a lot recently that it's like I get it, rich people suck, poor people deserve more. But this did it in such a clever way that was so specific in the world of like food and things like that I was like, wow, this is really taking it a different direction. It's not just rich people on an island, you know?
Yep. Okay. So what is what did you have a final verdict?
No, that's my final verdict. Yeah. It's a
Just leave it out there.
yeah, it's tough because I want to rate it higher, but I think I got to watch it again, you know, because I think I maybe had too many prejudices going into the movie that if I watch it again, knowing what I know now, having already seen it, I might rate it higher. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Okay, so it's my turn to suggest a movie, correct?
So what are we watching?
All right. I think I need to know whether or not you've seen some of these first.
Okay.
Because I have a short list. I'll cut some of this out. We'll make this clean. We'll tighten this up. Have you seen Fight Club?
No, actually, I've never seen Fight Club. Like, I know I've seen parts of it, but I have not watched it.
And you don't, like, do you know anything about it, really? Like, do you know what it's about?
Apparently, some guy's just crazy, and this is all, like, him just imagining it the whole time.
See, that's not as...
And there's no actual fighting going on.
Okay, that's not right.
Okay.
I don't... Okay, you almost made me not want to suggest it to you, but then I feel like you don't know enough about it to where you'll still be... You know what? Yeah, Fight Club. We're going to do Fight Club this week.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
The Chuck Palahniuk novel turned to the movie classic, cult classic, Fight Club. I'm excited. Yeah, hell yeah. It gives me another excuse to watch it again.
Perfect. There's a time for everything.
All right. Well, shit. Thank you guys for joining us again in the 7th episode, Neon Valley Podcast.
We love you all.
Yep. If you want to ask us any questions, be sure to join the Skorge Discord. Links in the description. Also the subreddit r/Neon Valley Pod to drop whatever memes or funny shit that you feel like you want to share with us.
In the meantime, we'll be here.
Joseph, cut that out. Thank you guys. No, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everybody.